Well, students, good evening to all of you. So, guys, today we will discuss the topic universalizations of elementary education and its approaches. Right? कौन सी approaches हैं? Number one, National Policy on Education in 1968-86. Second, DPEP, District Primary Education Program. MDM, Midday Meal. SSA, सर्व शिक्षा अभियान. RMSA, राष्ट्रीय माध्यमिक शिक्षा अभियान. और next last is IEDSS, inclusive education for disabled secondary stage. Right? So these all are approaches, okay, government is using in order to fulfill the universalization of elementary education. Okay, so first you have to understand about what is UEE, universalizations of elementary education, and then we will discuss all of the approaches one after the other. Right, guys? Then first we discuss what is universalizations of elementary education. So guys, UEE means universal access, enrollment, retention, and qualitative educations to all children in the age group of 6 to 14. Okay, what does it mean? It means all of the children across the country within the age group of 6 to 14, okay, they should be enrolled and they should get a primary education, because you know that our Article 45 says that there should be a free and compulsory education to all the children from the age group of a 6 to 14. Okay, so basically UEE, universalizations of elementary education, involves the three important things or three aspects. Number one, universalizations of provision. Number second, universalizations of enrollment. And third is universalizations of retention. Okay, please understand carefully what does it mean. Universalization of provision means school facilities should be provided to all the children across the country between the age group of a 6 to 14 years, right? And the school should be easily accessible within the walking distance of a child. Okay. Number second is enrollment. Universalizations of enrollment means we have to ensure, we means our parent, we as a parents, we as a teachers, we have to ensure all the children between the age group of a 6 to 14 year must be enrolled, right? Because guys, it is a written in the Article 45 and as well as Right to Education Act 2010 talks about that. It is a fundamental right of every children across the country to get the primary education free of cost, right? And you have seen now many child labor, you know, children below the age group of a 14, they are working, many in the slum areas and others. So guys, it is a punishable. So our motto is that even universalizations of a education, elementary education, the motto of universalizations of elementary education is to enroll and to provide the basic educations to all the children, right? Universalizations of enrollment means all the children between the age group of a 6 to 14 must be enrolled, and universalizations of a retention means retain a child who joins the primary education or elementary education, and he should remain there until he completes the primary education, right? Retention means retain the child up to the, unless or until he or she completes the primary educations. Okay, so this is all about universalizations of elementary education, right? Basically, what is the importance of UEE? The importance of UEE is that number one, eradications of poverty. Number second, fostering economic progress. Third, managing the growth of population and creating a clean and healthy environment, right? So guys, these are approaches for UEE. National Policy on Education 1968, National Policy on Education 1986, District Primary Education Program, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, national program of a midday meal in schools, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, inclusive education for disabled at secondary stage. Right? So these all are the approaches, right? Government has launched these all the approaches. Okay. For which purpose? In order to achieve the universalizations of a elementary education. Okay. So guys, first of all, before going ahead, I explain you in a simple manner. Basically, all the governments, they have come to know that we can only progress if, our citizens, they are, educated well, right? Because we got the independence in 1947, right? But during that, around, 1940, 1950, many other countries, they got independent. But now in 2022, they have become a developed country. And we are still in this stage of a developing country. Now the countries has come to know that unless or until the citizens of the country gets the education, they are educated, only then the nations can be developed, right? So you can see that since independence, we are doing that. We are government is implementing every approaches, like national policy on education 1968, then after 20 years 1986, then DPEP program, SSA program, midday meal program, RMSA IEDSS program. For which purpose? In order to enroll all the children in the country so that they can get a basic education as well as secondary education in the case of a RMSA, right? I think you got the idea. What is the purpose of a universalizations of a elementary education, right? So then we do all of the approaches one after the other. Okay. First, we talk about 1968 National Policy on Education. Okay, guys. So guys, you know that Education Commission 1964-66 we have done in the previous lecture. Okay, this is also called the Kothari Commission, right, guys? 1964-66 recommended that Government of India should issue a statement on national policy on education, which should provide guidance to the state government and the local authorities in preparing and implementing the education plans. So what happened? Government issued a resolutions on national policy on education in 1968. The NP in 1968 observes that. Okay, ये देखिए 1968 policy क्या कहती है, right? Okay, it is in the inverted commas. Huh? You can see that active efforts should be made for the early fulfillment of the directive principle under the Article 45 of the Constitution, seeking to provide free and compulsory education for all the children up to the age of 14. Suitable programs should be developed to reduce the prevailing wastage and stagnation in the school and to ensure that every child who is enrolled in the school successfully completes the prescribed course, right? Because National Policy of Education government ने pass किया किस purpose के लिए? Because our Article 45 says that there should be a free and compulsory education to all the children, but we are not achieving that particular stage. That's why 1968 policy, National Policy on Education passed this resolution. Okay, in order to fulfill the universalizations of elementary educations, or you can say to provide the basic educations to all the children from the age group of 6 to 14. Got it? Next, National Policy on Education 1986. Okay, matlab you can see that up to 1986 it didn't achieve that. Okay, Government of India to formulate and implement a new education policy for the country in 1986. The new education policy 86 emphasizes that universal enrollment and universal retentions of children up to the age of 14 years, right? Next, significant improvement in the quality of education. Next, systematic effort to provide non-formal educations to educate school dropouts, children from areas without schools, working children who are unable to attend the school during any time, implementing Operation Blackboard scheme to provide essential facilities in the school. Okay, matlab up to 1986 when the government observe that, okay, means all the children in the country up to the age of 14, they are not getting the primary education, they are doing the work, they are doing the child labor and other, okay, then he implemented new policy on education 1986, which emphasizes that there should be a universal enrollment and universal retentions of the children up to the 14 years of age, right? Next, guys, what happened? The third program, next program, district primary education program. It was again launched by the government of India in 1990. For which purpose? In order to provide the universalization of elementary education. Okay. The first point is that DPEP is an effort to decentralize educational planning at the district level. Okay. So whatever the lines I have underlined now, this is important to note that. Okay. So here the important point is that decentralize educational planning at the district level. Okay. What does it mean? Means, guys, before 1990, it was launched in a committee was appointed by the government in 1990. Now, the name of the committee was District Primary Education Program. So, guys, before 1990, if in the India, if you have to open a school, you have to take the permission from the central government. In any of the work related with the education, means you can understand in an easy way. Up to 1990, the school education, okay, that was centralized. Okay, so what is a centralized and decentralized? Centralized means if the power is in the hand of, one person's, right, one department. Decentralized means the power is distributed to all the departments below, okay, from top to below. This is called decentralized. Okay, फिर क्या हुआ 1990 में एजुकेशन को डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड किया गया at the district level. For which purpose? To get the aims and objectives of UEE, universalizations of elementary educations. Okay. So DPEP is an effort to decentralize educational planning at the district level. It is planned in such a way that it suits the educational needs and demands of the district concerned. Okay. Next, initially, district projects were prepared in 44 districts in 8 states: Assam, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Right? Gradually, it was following 273 districts spreading over 18 states. Right? Next, midday meal scheme, national program of a midday meals in schools. Midday meal schemes refers to the Government of India program introduced in all the government elementary schools to provide the children with cooked lunch. Okay. For which purpose? So that the children jo hai, up to the age of 14, they can retain in the school, right? And they should get the primary education. Government start the midday meal also. किस purpose के लिए? ताकि बच्चे स्कूलों में आए, दोपहर तक up to the noon, they should stay in the school, and and from that way they will learn that, and we will achieve, our country will achieve the universalizations of elementary education, so that all the children they would get the primary education, which is a fundamental right of all the children. Okay. Midday scheme was started in India from 15th August 1995 under the names of a national program of a nutritional support to primary education. In October 2007, this scheme was renamed as National Program of a Midday Meal in Schools, which is popularly known as a midday meal scheme. Okay. Recently, the President of India has proposed the inclusion of a milk in midday meal of children. Right? Next, guys, we talked about Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Okay. Next approach. देखो कितनी ही schemes हैं, है ना? It was launched by one after the other by the government, and ultimately we launched the SSA scheme in 2001. From independence 1947 till 2001, even तब भी काफी सारे, बहुत सारे children, they were doing the child labor, they were not going to the schools, they were dropouts, right? So education was not systematized, right? So then what happened in the year of 2001, there is another scheme, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, launched by the government. It was developed to achieve the universalizations of elementary education. ये देखो, it is written now. It was developed to achieve the universalizations of elementary education. What is the meaning of a universalization of elementary education? It means that all the children up to the age of a 6 to 14, they should get the at least primary education, okay, free of cost, which is the fundamental right of all the children, right? Even in order to fulfill the Article 45 in the Constitution, it also says that the free and compulsory education to all the children. It is the responsibility of the central government to provide the primary or elementary, same दोनों एक ही चीज है, primary or elementary, such kind of education, primary or elementary, to all the children across the country. It is the responsibility of the central government. That's why central government launched all the schemes one after the other. Even the midday meal schemes they launched in order to fulfill the objectives of universalizations of elementary education, right? So next, it is a time-bound manner, right? SSA aims to fulfill the objectives of this fundamental right. It is anchored by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, and has been operational since 2000 and 2001. The core objective of SSA program is to attain the universalizations of elementary education in the country. The overall goal of the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is to include the universal access and retention, bridging gender and social gaps in education and enhancing the level of learning of children. Okay, next we understand what are the objectives and features of the SSA. So these are the main features of the SSA. The number one, program with a clear time frame for universal elementary education, a response to the demand for quality basic educations all over the country, an opportunity for promoting social justice through basics, an expression of political will for universal elementary education across the country, a partnership between the central, state, and local government. Next, an opportunity for states to develop their own vision of elementary education, and an effort at effectively involving the Panchayati Raj institution, school management committee, village and urban slum level education committee, parents teacher associations, mother teacher associations, tribal autonomous councils, and other grassroots level structures in the management of the elementary schools. Right, guys? So now you have come to know that now in the schools, you are seeing that, parents teacher associations, parents meeting, right? So when the educations became the decentralized after the DPEP committee, so what happened? Education has become the, you can say, responsibility of all the persons. Even the new education policy 2020, we have done it. 2020 policy was designed by the Kasturi Rangan. So before implementing the policy, Kasturi Rangan got all the opinions from, every citizen in the country, right? Because this is, our duty. So dekho what happened under the SSA, okay, all the persons are involving Panchayati Raj institutions, school management committee, village and urban slum level functions, committees, parent teacher associations, mother teacher association. We are involving all the persons, means in the schools, we are also involving the community, right? Because with the help of a community, right, the government of India or we have to achieve this universalizations of elementary education, right, guys? Next, what are the aims of SSA? To provide useful and elementary educations for all the children in the age of a 6 to 14 age group by 2010. Here, 2010. Initially, in the previous slide, it was written, it is a time bound, right? So what happened up to the 2001 when the government launched many of the programs, many of the committee, and government realized that they are not completing the universalizations of elementary education. Then in the year of 2001, when the government launched the SSA program and said that it is a time bound and we have to achieve the universalizations of elementary education up to the 2010, right? To bridge the social, regional, and gender gaps with the active participation of a community in the management of the school, to allow the children to learn about the master their natural environment in order to develop their potential both spiritually and materially, to inculcate value-based learning. This allows children an opportunity to work for each other's well-being rather than to permit mere selfish pursuit, to realize the importance of a early childhood care and education and looks at the 0 to 14 age as a continuum, right? And objectives of SSA: all children in the school education guarantee centers alternate schools back to the schools camp by 2003, because it was time bound now. Government realized that, and government has to achieve up to the 2010 the aim of universalization of elementary education. Okay, so then all the children complete 5 years of a primary schooling by 2007, and all the children complete of elementary schooling by 2010. It was a time bound. Okay, and you know that what is the result? Even up to the 2010, we didn't achieve, यानी कि government didn't achieve the universalizations of elementary education. और फिर क्या हुआ in 2010? Next topic we will do, Right to Education Act 2010. गवर्नमेंट ने आखिरकार लास्ट में लॉ ही बना दिया कि राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट 2010, which says that free and compulsory education should be provided to all the children between the age of 0 to 4, 6 to 14. Or if any of the person, even parents, teachers, school violates that rule, so then it is a punishable. Right, guys? So focus on the elementary education of satisfactory quality with emphasis on education for life. Bridge all gender and social category gaps at primary stage of 2007 and at early education level by 2010 and universal retentions by 2010. Right? So now we conclude the SSA. In conclusion, we can say that Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan has two aspects. The number one, it provides a wide convergent framework for implementations of a elementary education scheme. And next, it is also a program with budget provision for strengthening vital areas to achieve universalizations of elementary education. Right? Next, guys, we talk about Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. Right? It is also a flagship scheme of Government of India to enhance access to secondary education and improves its quality. Okay. Ab kya hua? Up to the 2010, because many schemes launched by the Government of India since independence. Okay. So up to the 2010, matlab we were achieving the universalizations of elementary education. After that, it was realized that when the students are completing the primary education, right? So then they were not enrolling into the secondary education, right? So then Government of India launched Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan in order to provide the access to the secondary education, so that all the children, universalizations of elementary education talks about the elementary education. Elementary education is up to the 1 to 5th or 8th, but what after the 8th? After the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, +1, +2, talks about the secondary education. So after the class 8, in order to provide the secondary education, RMSA Abhiyan was launched by the Government of India. Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan aims to increase the enrollment rate by providing a secondary school within a reasonable distance of every home. Ab kya hua? What happened? Up to the 2010, you have seen that SSA आया और last तक time bound ये रखा गया and RTE Act भी बन गया. So a number of children, they were enrolling themselves into the primary education. They were getting the primary education, but they were not completing the secondary education. Right? Secondary education means class 9th, 10th, +1, +2. 1 to 8 talks about primary or elementary education. Okay. So then, what was, lack kya tha? The lack was, there was not secondary education schools. Okay. So then government launched the RMSA in order to provide all the facilities, all the physical facilities, financial assistance in order to start more and more secondary education. Because our children of our country, they have got the primary education. Now they have to enroll in the secondary education. Right? So RMSA also aims to improve the quality of secondary education by making all secondary schools conform to prescribed norms, removing gender, social, economic, and disability barrier, and providing universal access at the secondary level education. Okay. Now we discuss the main objective of a RMSA. so that it would be clear, what the RMSA did for the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan did for the secondary education schools. Okay, so it was ensured that all the secondary schools have physical facilities, staffs according to the prescribed standards through financial support in case of a government, local body and government aided schools. Clear? Next, to improve access to secondary schooling to all the young persons according to the norms through proximate location. Means secondary school within a 5 kilometer should be available for all the children, and higher secondary school within a 7 to 10 kilometer across the country should be available for the children in order to get the secondary education. Right? Means a government wants to ensure that they should also get the secondary education. Right? Next, to ensure that, this is the important line. Okay, whatever I have underlined, these are the important lines, you can note it. To ensure that no child is deprived of secondary education of satisfactory quality due to the gender, socio-economic, disability and other barriers. Right, guys? So this is the important line. So government ensures that no children should be deprived due to the gender. मतलब चाहे वो मेल है चाहे फीमेल है, राइट? सोशो इकोनॉमिक, गरीब है, मिडिल लेवल फैमिली से है, पुअर है, राइट? एंड डिसेबिलिटी, चाहे वो फिजिकल डिसेबल है, विजुअल डिसेबल है, किसी भी तरह का डिसेबल है, they have to get the secondary education by the government of India, right? So matlab it has to be assured by the RMSA, okay, to provide the secondary education irrespective of gender, socio-economic, disability and other kind of barriers, to improve quality of secondary education resulting in enhanced intellectual, social and cultural learning, to ensure that all the students pursuing secondary education receive educations of a good quality, right, and substantial progress in the directions of the common school system, right? So ye bhi ensure karna ki they should get a good quality of education. It means there is a need of a expert teachers. That's why guys, after the 2014, you know that B.Ed has become the compulsory. Before 2014, what was happening? You know that anyone does the graduation, post graduation, he start teaching in the schools, right? How it is possible, right? Okay, now we do the what is the difference between RMSA and SSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan and Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Okay, so basically RMSA means matlab in order to provide the access of a secondary education, and SSA means to provide the primary educations. Okay, so now in detail we discuss the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan is a flagship scheme of Government of India to enhance access to secondary education and improve its quality. RMSA aims to increase the enrollment rate by providing a secondary school within a reasonable distance of every home. And on the other hand, SSA means it is also a government scheme, okay, time-bound manner as mandated by 86th Amendment to the Constitutions of India, making free and compulsory educations to all the children from the age group of a 6 to 14, which is a fundamental right. Okay. Okay. Next, we talk about inclusive education for disabled at secondary stage, right? IEDSS. So it has been launched from the year 2009 to 10. This scheme replaces the earlier scheme. Earlier iska naam kya tha? Integrated Education for Disabled Children. Okay. And provides assistance for the inclusive educations of the disabled children in the class 9 to 12. After 8 tak to primary ho gaya education, 9, 10, +1, +2. Okay. This scheme now subsumed under Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan from 2013. So basically guys, जो भी disabled persons हैं, right? Even physically disabled हैं, ठीक है, visually disabled हैं, they can get the education. देखो प्राइमरी एजुकेशन तक तो उनका हो गया है ना, दे गॉट फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी, राइट, बिकॉज इट्स अ फंडामेंटल राइट. ओके, बट व्हाट आफ्टर द 8th क्लास, आफ्टर द प्राइमरी एजुकेशन? नाउ जो भी डिसेबल्ड पर्संस हैं, राइट, they have the right, they can get the secondary education free of cost. Okay, from the government schools. It is the duty of the government, if they have the disabled, okay, if they are disabled, so naturally, special teachers are required for those teachers. So it is the responsibility of the government to provide the special educators for disabled person. You have seen that na, in a class. Okay, if the some students, they are not getting, they have the learning disorders, है ना, disabled है, या visually थोड़ा है ना कम नजर आ रहा है, kind of problem है, dyslexia problem है. You have seen in the I think Ishan in the Tare Zameen Par movie by by Amir Khan, है ना, he was the actor, right? He has the problem. So if such kind of a student, this is the responsibility of the government to provide the secondary education free of cost. Everything free of cost, guys. अगर वो physical handicapped है, तो wheelchair is also provided to that particular student free of cost by the government, because this scheme ensures that, right? Now, what is the aims and objectives of IEDSS? Aims क्या हैं इसके? To enable all the students with disabilities to pursue further 4 years of a secondary schooling after completing 8 years of a elementary schooling in an inclusive and enabling environment. So here the word is inclusive is the most important word. Inclusive. Right? Because the full form of a IEDSS be inclusive education for disabled at secondary stage. Inclusive education, do you know what is the meaning of inclusive education? Inclusive education means if any of the disabled person and the normal student, normal child and the disabled child, they will learn same under a one roof. Okay, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है कि if any of the child of any parent, if he or she is disabled, so it does not mean he should be provided the another kind of a school. Nahi, there should be a common school system. So under the same roof, if the child is disabled, he will also learn, same thing. Okay, he will sit with the normal child. Okay, this is the meaning of a inclusive education, right? Okay, and if he has the problem, then it is the responsibility of the school, or central government, or state government to provide a special teacher, okay, for helping the disabled persons, right? Objectives. The scheme cover all the children studying at the secondary stage in government, local body and government aided schools with one or more disability as defined under the Personal with Disability Act 1995 and National Trust Act 1999 in the class 9 to 12. ओके, तो ये एक्ट देखो क्या कहता है, ये तो एक्टिव बन गया उनके लिए. ओके, तो कौन कौन से डिसेबल्ड पर्सन आ जाते हैं? नेमली ब्लाइंडनेस, लो विजन, लेप्रोसी क्योर्ड, हियरिंग इम्पेयरमेंट, लोकोमोटरी डिसेबिलिटीज, मेंटल रिटार्डेशन, मेंटल इलनेस, ऑटिज्म, cerebral palsy and may eventually cover speech impairment, learning disability, etc. तो ये सारे के सारे, if any of the persons comes under this category, so he will get the secondary education free of cost, right? Under these schemes. Setting up a model inclusive school in every state is envisaged under this scheme, right? So details of a inclusive education of the disabled at secondary stage. Name of the scheme IEDSS, sponsored by Government of India. Funding pattern, the scheme is 100% centrally funded, right? Ministry department, it comes under the school education literacy. Objectives क्या हैं इसके description में? The objective of IEDSS is to enable disabled children who have completed 8 years of elementary education to continue the education at the secondary stage in an inclusive environment, right? Inclusive environment in regular schools. Okay, beneficiaries कौन है? Individual or children, right guys? So thank you so much guys. So you have done all the things, right? Starting from the universalizations of elementary educations. Okay, so what is the universalizations of elementary education? To provide the free and compulsory educations to all the children across the country up to the age of 6 to 14 years. Okay, universalizations of elementary education. Number second, it is our fundamental right, right? And Article 45 says that there should be a free and compulsory educations to be provided to all the children across the country. Even Right to Education Act 2009, it also talks about that free and compulsory educations. Okay, right? And these all the approaches. National Policy on Education 1968-86 talks about that. DPEP, District Primary Education Program, talks about that. In order to fulfill the aims of universalizations of elementary education, midday meal scheme also, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan also, RMSA only talks about that in order to provide the secondary educations to all the children, okay, after completing the elementary education, and IEDSS, right guys? So thank you so much guys for this lecture. Thank you. Okay guys, thanks once again.